idea of what you can get done at the United Nations. President Trump, as you know, is calling for a major overhaul there, saying the UN has failed to meet its full potential. And with the UN getting most of its money from the United States, he's pushing to see some results in line with our national investment. One-on-one. Florida Congressman Francis Rooney is a Republican on the Foreign Affairs Committee, and we are so glad to have you. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me on.
Congressman Rooney, I know you've written an op-ed ahead of showing our audience some of the things that you're saying. I just want to dial in with you a little bit about how you think the president is doing on his first day, his debut, and what needs to happen going into tomorrow.
Well, I think he set the table quite well in his meeting with Secretary General Guterres, calling for some significant reform to what I think everybody agrees is a pretty sclerotic, corrupt organization.
And going into tomorrow, are you looking for him to say certain things, to have a certain tone?
Well, what I saw yesterday was they're going to focus around that peace, prosperity, and sovereignty, those three themes, all of which blend into the problems we face with Iran and North Korea and the problems that we face with the UN being a bit moribund.
Let's talk about your op-ed. It's getting some attention today. We'll pop up some words on the screen that you wrote. D.C. must demand to the UN and its agencies stop legitimizing dictators. UN-related agencies must be held accountable for what they do and spend, and the UN must oversee peacekeeping forces to ensure they remain relevant and effective. Which one would you like to start with? It is some meaty stuff in there, and how far away do you think we're from actually realizing any of those things?
Well, I think that when Secretary General Guterres, he wanted the UN to be reformed to be agile, flexible, and efficient. He's got his work cut out for him. These are actual travesties that have occurred recently by different parts of the UN and constituent agencies. And I've never liked the UN Human Rights Council for what they've done with to support dictators like Maduro, Chavez, or Mugabe. And now you go read about all this abuse by the peacekeeping missions. It never stops there.
You know, Congressman Rooney, today we heard UN Ambassador Nikki Haley say that we're running out of diplomatic processes to avoid war. What do you think of on the Foreign Relations Committee when you hear those words?
Well, I think she's pretty accurate. I mean, you know, we've had 3 presidents, each with 8-year terms, engage with North Korea every time North Korea would act up a little bit, and we'd have some countermeasures or some kind of agreement, and everybody go away, and then they do it again. So I think the Kim family feels that we want a deal more than they do, and they've proceeded down the road despite our efforts. So we've got a problem.
Sir, are we closer to war with that rogue regime, as we often call it, or crazy, or however you want to term it? It is dangerous, deadly dangerous, even to its own people. Are we closer to war with them than we ever have been in your lifetime?
I don't know. We could be. I happen to think that the tougher we are on them, the less chance of war we will have, and the more chance of engaging Russia and China to do the part that's very important for them to play. You know, if it were me, I've said this before, I would say to Kim, if you want to talk to somebody, go talk to China. We're done talking to you.
And what would you say to China?
I would say what we have been saying, what Secretary Tillerson says is, you guys have the geography, have the dominating trade relationships with North Korea. You can stabilize this situation. And as Secretary Tillerson said very astutely, we don't want it. We don't want to unify the peninsula. We want to leave them alone. We just want them to denuclearize.
Interesting. Last question for you. Is that really what Kim Jong-un wants? Because the way he's going about it, killing his relatives and threatening to shoot at people across in South Korea, you don't unify a peninsula like that. So do we know truly what he wants?
I don't know, but I tend to think he's diabolical and will stop at anything to preserve his power, just like his father. And I would rather err on the side of fearing his intellect than consider him just a madman.
Congressman Rooney, thank you very much joining us from the great state of Florida. And, sir, we have been praying for your people in that state, as we have across Texas and Louisiana this hurricane season. We're going to talk about that coming up. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much.